NMG presents Behind the Music with Alex Elbro.
Hello, I'm Alex Elbro and welcome to Behind the Music. In this series we look beyond the music to discover the life, the passion and the stories behind the artists we love. I'll be sitting down with musicians to explore what shapes them, what inspires them and how their personal story is woven into their music. And today I'm talking to Gabby Rivers. Now Gabby is a singer-songwriter creating angsty alternative rock tunes, navigating the chaos of young adulthood. She's recently been announced as the headline act at the BBC Introducing stage at Latitude, as well as playing many festivals over the summer. And I'm delighted that Gabby joins me today. Hello to you.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing really good, yeah. A bit hot today,
yes.
But I'm enjoying the heat, definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
And with hot comes lots of festivals. And we'll
yes.
talk about those in a moment.
Yeah.
And you know, you're going into festival season this year with new music and a new EP out, and a new sound really.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about how you've got to that from when you were starting. Now, Gabby, if you take you right back to when you were a child, was there a lot of music around you? How were you influenced with music then?
So like nobody in my family is musical. No one plays instruments, no one sings, does anything. But one thing that they do love is they've always loved going to gigs, loved going to festivals, and like literally I've been brought up around music. If there was a new CD out, my dad would buy it and he would show everybody when he got home, oh, I've just got this in Tesco's, I've heard this band are really good, we should listen to them. And he's always been really great at like finding new artists that are like about to blow up. Like I remember when he like first found like Two Door Cinema Club when they first like started, which is crazy, and they were like a small band, and like same as like Noah and the Whale and the Vaccines and like all these like up and coming indie bands. And I remember feeling like at the time like all of my friends were listening to like pop music and rap music, but like my family was just so different. Like we didn't listen to any of that. It was all like indie rock, like soul sort of music, and I actually loved that because I was able to go and see it live and go to gigs at like from the age of like 4. So it was just not necessarily happening at home, everyone doing music, but like we were just seeing a lot of it and hearing it all the time.
But then that becomes very natural to you, doesn't it? That why wouldn't you go to gigs and why wouldn't you see new music? And you know, that is a great ethos to be brought up in. Definitely. Now you said that all your friends were playing other stuff or listening to other stuff. Was that any sort of conflict in that, or did you just think, no, we just do this differently? Or how did it work?
Well, I knew that like nobody my age, like it wasn't normal for kids my age, like 8 years old, to go to gigs. So like I saw Fleetwood Mac like at the age of 8 years old, which is like
I'm going to say that is very cool. But would have been, I'd like to see
saying that I kicked off because I couldn't go to my friend's Halloween party because I had to go to Fleetwood Mac, and then now looking back on it I'm like, as if I
best
said
choice.
But so I think for me it was kind of like I did feel like, oh, am I weird because I don't listen to what they listen to and I'm not going to those sorts of shows. But then I feel like when you go to those shows and they're packed out and they're full of like-minded people that all like the same stuff as you and everyone's singing along, it kind of makes you feel like, no, I am normal and this is cool. And I always felt like that. I always felt like watching these indie bands, I always felt like different and cool, and I quite liked that. I liked being unique to the rest of my friends and listening to different stuff than them, and
that's probably reflecting, like you could see with these indie bands, you could see yourself within that. So, and that's the whole point.
And then it made me feel like less weird. I definitely think like going into high school, it like hit me. I think when I was younger, like between like the age of like 4 and like 12, going to gigs, I didn't care. I was a very careless child. I just did whatever and I was crazy. But when I went to high school, I definitely felt the impact of it, because then people started saying things and like bullying me a little bit, and it was just a little like that's such a cliche musician thing to say, like I got bullied, but like it happens. And I definitely felt the impact of it, but I was at a point where I'd started doing music at that point and I kind of just didn't care anymore. So
I think
cool.
that's the trouble, that when you are at that age, it's such a formative age, but it's also such an age where you're trying to fit in, or rather you could potentially just be like, oh, well, I will just do what everybody else does to keep quiet, keep under the radar, so people don't point me out.
Yeah.
But then you're not being true to yourself, and that's very hard to maintain that for a long time.
And I was truly lucky that I had so many people around me outside of school that were supporting me.
Yeah.
So it kind of felt like when I was in school, if people were being mean, it didn't matter, because I had I'd started, you know, going to open mics and people were supporting me in the open mic scene. I'd got my first festival slot, and Lee Stock Festival at the time was supporting me when I was like 13 years old doing that. My music teacher at school was showing me colleges that I could go to. I got an audition for the Brit School, like things like that. Like I feel like because it was like this continuous like support, it didn't fit. I felt like the noise at school was like just completely blocked out, which I was really lucky for, because I know some people just didn't necessarily get that.
Yeah, and they wouldn't have gone in, they would have said, okay, that's not me,
exactly.
I'm going to something else.
Yeah.
So when did you actually start playing music or yourself, or writing stuff?
Yeah, that's always like such a blurry line for me, because like I feel like I kind of like merged and it all kind of happened all at once, and it was just like a lot being young and, you know, starting high school and stuff. But I remember I was 12 years old and I was going to a theatre company. I remember that. And but I loved the singing side of things more than like the dancing and the acting. And I said to my parents, like, I was getting solos at the time, and I remember I think I sang like "Make You Feel My Love" at the Royal Albert Hall, like, and I sang a solo. And I remember just feeling that like with this choir behind me, I was like, oh my God, like I could do this as my own thing one day. I could try. And I remember going home and telling my parents, like, I want to try and do this music thing. And I remember my parents being like, well, we have no clue because we're not musicians. But they just were like, well, we know there's this thing called open mic. I think you can take your iPod along with you and do covers. So that's what I did. And then off the back of that, I had loads of like musicians, like older guys who were at the open mics. And they would be like, I want to play for you. Like, you can play in our band, and we know how to play Valerie on the guitar. We can do that for you. So I started doing that more at open mics, and, you know, I was finishing school at 3 o'clock, showering, getting ready, going out to the open mics, leaving. I'd be kicked out by like 8 o'clock, and then. So
were your parents taking you around?
My parents were
guessing that's the other thing. You know, you've got to have the transport.
Exactly. Every week they were taking me out to these open mics just consistently, and then I remember I got offered a gig at one of the pubs, like to just do like a full 2-hour set, and so I did that with like my guitar teacher, but he wasn't my guitar teacher at the time, and then he said to me, do you want me to teach you guitar? And I was like, yeah, sure. So I started. When you said he's your guitar teacher, he was to become your guitar teacher. Yeah, because
so you were just were singing, doing the singing. He was
the one that like ran the open mics, and he was like, and I was just doing the singing, and he would jump on, play the guitar for me, and I would sing, and then he was like, well, why don't you learn how to play? Because like you could just practice at home. And I was like, that's a really good idea. So then I started going to guitar lessons with him, and then around about the same time, my dad was actually. I think he was painting like an old airbase. He was painting somewhere, and this old airbase is like a music studio, and it's run by one of the members from the band Keen. They own it, and my dad went in there, and there was a music producer there, and my dad was like, oh, I really want my daughter to like maybe try and write songs, like would she be able to come in for a session with you? And he was like, absolutely. So yeah, a couple of weeks later my dad dropped me off after literally first picking up the guitar. He dropped me off, and then I basically, between the age of like 13 to 14, I want to say, I started like doing these music production songwriting. He basically taught me how to songwrite. It was really cool. And then off the back of that, just started songwriting with him whilst like also studying at school, whilst still doing the open mics. And then those open mics kind of blended into doing my originals at the open mics, and then that's how it all kind of kick-started, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. And you play with the band now. Were you playing with the band then?
No. Well,
or were you getting people just to jump on as and when?
People were just jumping on stage at the open mics and joining in. And then I remember, I think I was like 15 at the time, and I can't remember, somebody said something to me where they were like, oh, you know, you're a young girl, like you've got, and I had like older guys playing with me at the time, and they're like, you should get a younger band in with you. And I was like, oh, but my guys, like they've been supporting me since day one. But yeah, obviously like they're all like the same age as my dad, so I was like, oh yeah, maybe I could, but I didn't know anybody. No one in my school did music, no one in the area did. And I remember I went into Colchester one day and I walked past somebody who was busking, and they were playing the cajon, and it was this young guy, he was like a really good looking guy, and I was like, oh my god, that's so cool. So I left him a note on a receipt being like, do you want to come play an open mic with me? And he was a drummer, and he was like, and then off the back of that, he joined my band. And then somebody who was a lot younger, actually, who I met a lot in the open mic scene, called Jason, he was already gigging with me. So me, him, the drummer, and Jason kind of all collaborated, was going to these open mics together. And we joined as like, it started out as a 3-piece. That's how it started, as a band. And then funny enough, I got asked to do the NMG, to perform at the NMG for the first time.
That's the NMG Awards.
Yeah, the NMG Awards.
Yeah.
And I remember I freaked out because I was like, I don't have a band. I don't have a full band. I don't know what to do. And then my cajon player / drummer at the time was like, well, he was in college, so he just started college, and he was like, I actually know a bassist. Like, why don't we get a full band together? And that's when, like, literally the NMG Awards was the first time I've played with a full band. Like, that was the first time we did it together, which was crazy.
So you pulled it off brilliantly.
Yeah, and I remember I wore that blue jumpsuit, and I was like, and I was so scared, because it's like you're performing in front of like-minded people, and it was like the first time I was playing as a band. So that was I want to say that for me felt like when Gabby Rivers started, like my sound, me as an original artist, like that performance was like the start of it all.
And with this band, that not the band you pulled together just for that, but when you were at the trio, were you rehearsing in between going to the open mic stuff? So you were bringing yourselves together as a band.
I was really lucky that, like, my parents had an old office space that they didn't use anymore, and my dad's best mate was like, oh, sponsor you, I'll get you some music equipment.
These people are just brilliant, aren't they?
They're so amazing. And he was like, I'll get, and he's like my uncle, this guy, so he was like, oh, I'll get you some music equipment, Gabs, we'll make you like a little recording studio. So he bought like all these recording equipment, and they set up this like little recording studio. So if we weren't practicing as a band or doing the open mics, we were in my little home office recording studio together, sometimes even doing band rehearsals in there, because it was the cheapest way to do it.
And you weren't doing any music at school, as it were?
No, I actually, not enough people took the music course at my school, so music GCSE got cancelled, and that was around the time that I'd formed, like year 9, year 10 was like the first time I'd like formed the band. Yeah, and I remember it got cancelled, and I was like gutted. I was like, oh, what am I going to do? Because I wanted to go to the Brit school, I wanted to go to music college, and I was really panicking because I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. So
and it just shows how important these things are in school, because that could have just changed your whole path of what you did, because you couldn't do
exactly
that, but obviously you found a different way.
Yeah, luckily enough, like I said, everybody outside of school was so supportive. I didn't really have a choice. I had to keep going.
Should we play one of your songs now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Should we do one of the videos?
Yeah, let's do it.
How about, oh, hang on, I haven't written down which way round. Which one would you like to play first?
We could go for Noise, I think, is a lyric video that I sent you guys. Yeah, we'll do that. Let's go for that. I love this one, and it's just like, so, yeah, it's like one of the first ones we wrote for this EP. And I like it because it's kind of like older me coming into the new me, and it felt like that transition. But saying that, me and Stan wrote it together, and we rewrote this song 5 times. So everybody in the band loves it, and every time me and Stan play it, we're like, we love it, it's growing on us, but also like it was a real pain to make.
Well, sometimes the best things come out of when you've had to reread.
100%, yeah.
And we can then talk about your different sounds.
Yes,
but let's play that now. That's Noise.
Let's do it.
But now your anger cries for this broken debate. crazy, we're not on the same page. You're acting all sour, now you're on a new wage. It's clear you're on your own when your voice isolates, but no one asked you to participate. You are degrading me, and I am here to disagree. You make me up, push me down, I can't keep up with all the sound. Comes back, the monsters find your company is so divine. Thinking that you're almost done, but the worst is yet to come. The worst is always yet to come. The worst is always yet to come. Overthinking this, sitting one on what is right. And you're overthinking this, sitting one on what is right. What is You pick me up, you push me down. I can't keep up with all the sound. Comes back, the monster's fine, and the worst is always yet to come. The worst is always yet to come.
So that was Noise, and was the first single.
Yeah.
Well, no, rather that was the most recent single that came from the EP.
Yes, it came out with the whole EP, so technically it was like a new one compared to the releases before that. So yeah.
But I'm holding back on talking about your new stuff because I still want there's so much more to explore.
Yeah.
So you mentioned casually about wanting to be at the Brit School and having an audition for that. So what was how did that come about? What was
that was crazy. I had a real whirlwind of like a year. I remember going into like year 10 to 11, and that was kind of like the first year that the band had like started and we were doing things. I think we might have just won Berry Sound, I think, around that time, which was
another
crazy.
thing you just dropped in. You obviously had to go through the whole of
it was real crazy. And I also, that same year, got given an opportunity where I could go to Abbey Road and I could literally just like be given like a one-to-one like music industry advice talk. Which was
how did that come about then? So
my dad, he was he was painting somebody's house, and brought up that I started doing music, and they were talking about their kids as well, and then he said, oh, I know somebody that's a mastering engineer at Abbey Road. He's a really nice guy. He's got great industry advice. Like maybe Gabby should go for a meeting there. So yeah, he took me down, and again, my school were supportive. They were like, they let me have the day off school. Went to Abbey Road. And then around the same time, my graphics design teacher, who was my tutor at the time, was literally like so supportive of everything I did. But it was so funny because like he was almost like the most supportive out of everybody, but he listened to a lot of the same bands I did, and he introduced me to like Tiny Desk, like YouTube videos and stuff like that. So like he was the coolest guy ever at school. And I used to sit at the front, and I didn't talk to anybody like in my class in tutoring, like when we were getting the register done. I just talked to him about music the whole time. And he said, look, I've got 2 colleges for you that I think would be really great. I think you should apply for the Brit School, and I was like, that's ridiculous. I'm not going to do that. That's mental. I'd never get into the Brit School. And he said, and then there's also a one closer to home called Access to Music. And I was like, okay. So I went to the open day for the Brit School and walked around, and it was literally like something out of a movie. I was like, wow, this is so cool. And then applied and got like, I think like an interview of some sort, and then they asked me to go in person. So then I did like an in-person audition and an interview and stuff. But because I didn't get taught any music theory because my music course got cut, we had to do a music theory exam, and turns out I passed the interview, I passed the audition, but I didn't pass the music theory exam. You have to pass all 3 to get in. So because I didn't pass the music theory exam, because I didn't get taught it in school because the course got cut, I didn't end up getting in. And it was like again, if you're out of catchment of the Croydon area in London, it's so hard to get into the Brit School. You have to be within like southeast London to be able to like very easily get into the Brit School, whereas like everybody else out of that catchment area, it's like it's literally like the Hunger Games to get in.
Exactly. There's only so many.
Yeah, because you have to have like you have to live with a family in London to be able to go. It's so confusing, like all of it.
Yeah.
And I remember getting the letter and just being like, oh, I didn't get to the Brit school, and my life felt like over. And it was so hard. But again, like for that to even be given an audition and to go there and be so close was like insane that they recognised me. And then got into Access to Music instead in Norwich, which was still a big jump. Like all of my college friends were going to like Bury St Edmunds, so me travelling up to like a city was like huge for me. Like it was mental. And that before I started at Access to Music that summer, they actually gave me a slot on the In-Betweeners stage at Latitude, like which is like a tiny little acoustic stage.
And what age were you then?
I was 15 at the time. Yeah. So I remember just being like, I'm playing my favourite festival and I'm playing an acoustic set and I'm here with my best friend who I've come with my family and I'm going to this college in September. It felt like really
life was the best then.
Just felt like the best, and I had like the best year, like Abbey Road, Brit School, that all in 1 year. So it felt like, okay, everything's come together, it's fine. And Bury Sound and being able to record music because I won Bury Sound was great. So yeah, it was definitely like
that's why I think these awards are really great stepping boards for other things, because one is you're introduced to lots of other people, a bit NMG and Bury Sound introducing to like-minded people who you might collaborate with, but equally the prizes that they offer and the opportunities you may not get any other way, and they might be then the springboard to something else.
Yeah, I didn't even consider like recording my own original music. Like being 15, I was like, why would I record my own? That's just long and expensive and I don't have the money for that. But then winning Bury Sound, being able to then record my own stuff and literally basically all get done for me was game changing, because that was like 2019, I think. So then going into like 2020, being able to like, and going into college, especially like a music college, having stuff already recorded, having a band, it just felt like I was really lucky to like start my you know later teens, like 16, like in that position, which was great.
So do you think that was probably the pivotal moment when you were like, this is me, I'm gonna carry on with this?
It was like the age of like 16, like winning Bury Sound, and then like having like the NMG and the band and everybody and everything, and that award ceremony was like the start of like, okay, now I know what I want to do, we just got to start doing it.
And did you find that you were songwriting then? Were you songwriting on your own, or were you getting the band involved?
No, I was all doing it on my own at that point. And it's only really been within the past like 2-3 years that I've actually started getting other people involved. But yeah, for a long time it was just me and my guitar in my bedroom. It was like the only way that I could like express myself and my feelings, so it was the best way to do it. And yeah, the band just wrote their parts, which was fun.
So you brought it to them, and then they
I was like, I want the drums to collect, and they'd be like, oh, okay.
So looking back then to that, having to be able to play the guitar yourself rather than rely on someone else became really important then.
Yeah, massively.
Is that the way you write music now?
I start writing on the guitar, or Stan starts writing on the guitar, my guitarist, and then we form a demo or a song, and I've always done it that way. I've always started with the guitar and the lyrics, and sometimes I even start like with the lyrics. I write a lot of poetry.
So do you write and then
sometimes like I already have like lyrics already written. I've got like a poetry book, and then I've also got like so much notes apps where I just like, I need to write something. So I do a lot of that. I do a lot of writing. I always loved English in school, so like that was my way of just like, I love poetry. Wait, I can write poetry all the time and put it in songs.
Again, sometimes people don't realise that the connection when you're in school and you're learning poems, or you're doing a module on this, and you're like, oh, why are we doing this? But then you can suddenly see the relationship, and then you're like, it's quite good that I learned that stuff, because now I understand about structure,
how to put it all together,
and how to put it all
100%.
together. And like you say, you can put your own thoughts somewhere.
It was so nice, the best.
And so what do you feel you were writing about then? Because I mean, that's
Yeah.
over 10 years
Yeah,
plus
yeah.
ish. 10
Well,
years-ish
yeah,
ago?
it's about eight.
Oh.
Yeah.
Not age,
No.
but
Honestly,
yeah.
everyone always does it. Like, I still forget you're like a baby.
yeah, exactly. 'Cause you're like, it feels like you've done so many wonderful things already.
I feel,
that, you know,
I feel tired.
Yeah,
But yeah. So at that time, the things I was writing about was like literally just like girl drama at school. I just used to write so much about that. Girl drama at school, my sister annoying me, me and my mum are so similar, and we used to bicker so much when we lived together. So like me and her like arguing, just kind of like day to day, what everybody goes through. I was just, instead of like screaming about it and telling my friends and FaceTiming my friends, I wasn't doing that. I was just writing about it instead. And for a while it felt like the right thing to do, whereas now I'm kind of like, and looking into my artistry and like who I want to be as an artist, like that to me is just like, I want to be my own person and my own thing, and write about like things that get a bit deeper, basically.
So from that though, I think if you're gigging at 15 and you're writing about things, I mean, that is you. Yeah, even if
definitely.
you know, or you know, you said you weren't necessarily great friends with everybody there. Yeah. But you're watching them, and actually that's feeding some of the things that you can.
I remember.
You know.
I remember I wrote a song. I can't remember. Oh, it's gonna really bug me what song it was. I think it was a song called like "Stop Trying," which was like one of my first songs that I released, which I've actually taken down on platforms now, which is crazy to even say that. But yeah, I wrote a song called "Stop Trying," and it was about like somebody, I wrote it at like 14, it was about somebody trying too hard to please everybody, and them being quite selfish and actually kind of hurting people that actually cared about them to be able to like be on top. And I was like, it's just quite embarrassing that they're doing that. They need to stop trying so hard, like, because otherwise they'd find their life probably a lot easier, and they'd be a nicer person. And I remember writing that and performing it at an open mic, and someone came up to me afterwards and they were like, this person was like 28, and they came up to me and they were like, I really relate to that song. And then I felt
it's very relatable. So I'm about to say, all those things that you do there, although you're like, oh, those are what we're going through at school. Yeah, people can really relate to those, and other teenagers and older can relate
But her saying that was the first moment that I realised, wait a second, I can write for me and other people. Yes. And I was like, that's a thing. Yeah. And so now when I write, it's kind of like I do it because I want people to relate and scream it and sing it and understand it, because if I feel that way, then you know, there's got to be people that also feel that way. So it makes you feel less lonely, I suppose.
So how would you describe your sound then? And then at what point did you think, as you probably came out of college and you started to do other things, looking for jobs and everything else, how did you think, actually, I'm going to change my sound? Because it felt like you had a great sound, and so I've been listening back to some of the older stuff and some of the new stuff, and you know, it's very you still, but it's got much more of an edge to it, I think. But maybe that's just part of growing up.
Definitely, I think it is. I think it's just like, I think it's a maturity thing. I think like people always say that, like, oh, it still sounds like you, but I mean, my grandparents hate it. They're like, go back to you, the girl with the red guitar, and I'm like, I can't do it anymore. But like, for me, it is a maturity thing, and I think it's also like a growth thing. I think it's also what you listen to as well. Yeah. Like the bands I was kind of listening to at 14, 15 was the bands that like my family were listening to.
So the ones you were describing?
Yeah, like Two Door Cinema Club, like the Vaccines, like lots of indie bands. And I remember, and that sound that was the first sound that I released was like definitely what my family was listening to, and what I'd always known. And then,
so you're almost trying to replicate that.
Yeah, 100%. I was
realising there was anything else.
Yeah,
that, you know.
I was, and I remember just being like, I want to be an indie acoustic pop artist. That's what I wanted to be. Yeah. And then that was kind of like my first EP, which is called Headache. That was the first sound. And then I'm, like you said, coming out of school and like writing in college and stuff, and experiencing more things. Like I met I broke up with, well, my ex-boyfriend. We broke up, and that was like my first love, and I experienced that. And then I experienced like a really bad like mental health period in my life, which was like awful, lockdown, all these like pivotal things. and I definitely got confused. I was definitely like,
Who am I now?
Who am I as an artist? Because
Yeah.
I don't listen to Two Door Cinema Club anymore. Love them, but I don't listen to them anymore.
Yeah.
And then I remember being like, but I listened to Tom Misch, and I listened to Laurel Kana, and I listened to De La Soul, and then I was like, I'm so confused. And then, but I was listening to like indie bands still, but like maybe new indie bands, like the Royston Club, and I was just like, I don't know what to do. And I felt very confused. And I remember we actually had a writing weekend in Norwich, and at this point I was going to college and stuff, and I was with the band a bit more, and the band had changed a little bit as well.
So who was, how many of you were there then?
So it was like, at this point, like, as soon as I want to say I started college, lots of the original band members had left because they'd gone to uni, which happens in every band. And then I met my current partner, who offered to step in and drums because he saw how stressed I was. I needed a drum. And he was like, I'll play for you, it's fine. So he stepped in and played drums, and now he's just a permanent member. And then Stanley Horseman, OG, we love him. He joined because turns out him and my partner at the same time had like moved in together. So, and I like introduced them, and then they moved in together. So I was like, this is perfect. It's like we're all in a band together.
Like friends.
Yeah. It was so fun. And then Jason still dedicating so much time towards the band, which was awesome. And then we also had a guy called Jan, who was again such a pivotal part of like being in the band, and he was in the band for about 2 years, and he actually left because he was working in a studio at the time and just couldn't commit, which is fair. But this was like lockdown, we released the EP, it's like between 2020 and 2022 I want to say. Released the EP. Lockdown had happened, I'd experienced loads of different things, I was listening to so much different music. TikTok had just been brought out, so I was being exposed to like so much music on TikTok, and I remember just being like, I don't know what I want to create. And so we had this writing weekend with the new band at the time, and
where were you living at this point?
And I was still living at home, but I say I was still living at home, I was basically living in Norwich. I literally never went home. I only went home to work my barista job at a coffee shop in my local town, and to like get clothes and like just go back to Norwich.
Do your washing.
Between 2020 and 2022 we were experimenting so much, and that's when I made songs like Bug Bite, which was like a funk soul like pop track, and Rethink Restart, which is like an acoustic pop track. But then I was like, I made Two Face, which was like rock, and it was just, and and Paradise, which are like all like, some were rock, some were pop, some were very indie. And around that time I like really experimented, and got given some funding. So I was like, I'm just gonna put out this project. I'm just gonna, because I think there's such a high demand for artists to always bring out new music. I felt this pressure. If I'm being honest, and I hate saying it now, but like the Disappointed But Not Surprised EP, I didn't feel ready to release, which had Bug Bite, Two Face, Rethink on it, but I felt like I had to because I needed to.
Because you needed to be seen, and the algorithms needed
exactly. And I released it, but I knew it was a mess. Like I knew it was like, I didn't know who I was. Not that I knew, I know now, but at the time I was like, I have to put something out, and I know that these are different genres.
And when you say it's a mess, just the fact that you were trying out, so each one of them had its different
song,
feel.
Like
it wasn't
literally
unified.
Well, each song was a different genre, and I say that, and at the time I felt like I was so cool. I was like, artists don't need to stick to one genre. We can be whoever we need to be, and I was so like, this is fine. But then I realised, gigging that music, I was put on so many random bills. Like I was put on like an indie bill, and then a rock bill, and then a soul bill, and then I was just put on so many different like lineups, and then I was just like, I don't. But then I wasn't being booked necessarily for as much, because I feel like people just didn't know what to put
they
me
were
on.
thinking, or maybe
and then it really slowed down, and you
did a few fivers around that time.
I did a few fivers.
So
this is the thing. I did the Alcove stage at Latitude in 2021. Then we wrote all of this like crazy different genres, because I was like, I need to grow now. I've had this moment. I need to grow. Then I was like, let's just put it out. Then it really slowed down. Between 2020 and 2024, it was like literally just like silence. Like, I remember I'd gone from like such a high from doing so many gigs to like doing nothing, and I was really down about it, like, because I was like, I feel like what I'm making is awesome, but actually it was like genuinely not getting booked and not doing as much was the best thing that could have happened to me, because I just reflected so much in that time. And my partner was actually putting on shows at the time at Voodoo's and wasn't booking me in Norwich.
So
and
you think, hang on there.
And I was like, and I was so, and he was doing like these shows that were like selling out, and obviously being the girlfriend and being an artist to somebody who was promoting really great shows, I felt like so upset. I was like, what? And he actually just sat me down and it was honest and was like, please don't hate me, but like, I don't know what I'll be able to put you on. And I remember when he said that, it was like around 2023, he said that just after we'd done this like, period of time. And he was like, I don't know what bills to put you on, I'm sorry. He was like, you are really good and what you're doing is good, but each song is different and your set is a bit all over the place, and I don't know where to put that, and I worry that it would affect ticket sales for if I put you on a rock band bill. And I remember just being so upset for like weeks and weeks and weeks.
Were you angry? Initially, I bet you were.
I think, initially I was.
Because you're like, hang on, this is your.
Initially I was, but I knew, I've agreed straight away. I knew straight. I was like, and I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy with what I was making. Like everyone, and we were doing shows that were like we did like 2 headline shows in that time that sold out. But I remember just being like, I was doing like maybe like Two Face, which was like a rockier one, and I was like, oh, I love this more. So that was like, that whole period of time was a lot of figuring out who I was. I want to say literally from like 2020 to 2023 was figuring out who I was. Lots of mistakes, lots of errors, lots of growing, lots of writing, but finishing 2023 I was like, something needs to change, and I'm really glad that it did.
I think that's a really good point to play one of your newest songs.
Definitely.
I'm going to say though, I love Two Face. I mean, I love, and you could see that it was definitely different, and it felt like that was like a beginning.
100%. That was the one that started it all. Definitely.
We're going to do Medicine now. Do you want to say anything about that? This is on the new EP.
This is one of my favourites on the EP. We actually wrote this song after the EP had finished, like after we thought it had finished. After which maybe we'll explain about later. Like I basically took I took a year out of like basically gigging, releasing everything, and in that year I got given some funding, so I wrote and just hid away and worked loads with Stan, and me and Stan thought we'd finish this EP. I think we set a target of like writing like 8 or 9 songs, and we'd done that, and then we were like, right, we need to take 4 or 5 of them to the band to pick, and then one night I came home and somebody at work had upset me, really upset me, and he really related to it. He was like, I actually understand this a lot, like should we, and he just started writing this guitar part, and then I started singing, and then I'm pretty sure we had some garlic bread in the oven or something, and literally by the time we'd put started cooking dinner and dinner was on the table, we'd finished the demo for Medicine, which was like crazy. And then I remember being like, oh, but this song feels a lot more like Dig Me and feels a lot more like the ones that we are going to put on the EP, so maybe we should get rid of whatever one we didn't end up going on. And we did, so yeah.
Oh, so this is Medicine.
Yes.
Me and you have different personalities. Make it work, but depends on your mentality. I feel a sense of fear if you took a wrong turn. Can I call you a friend if you make my stomach churn? I put the effort in but never get it in return. You spread these rumors, lost the trust that you've earned. That they seem longer if you're not
So that was Medicine, and you said that you've written that really fast. So sometimes these songs, they need to come out, and like you know exactly what you want to do for them. And,
this one came so quickly, and also it felt like the grungiest one that we did, and then I was like, I didn't stop listening to it. I felt like I had superpowers when I wrote this song, because I remember like walking to work the next day, and the person that annoyed me, I'd like walk into work with my headphones on, listen to this demo. Like I felt just like so relieved that I'd got it off my chest. And I remember this person saying to me like, have you ever written a song about me? And I remember just being like, no, but in my head I'm like, I've written a banger.
I was going to say, how do you balance your like personal experiences with what you write, or and especially as you're getting older, you know, as you've changed, and you're working with Stan and things.
Oh yeah, I definitely like now. I think about what I write before I write it. Like I'm like, will someone relate to this, or is this just a really niche experience? And sometimes it is, and I think I still write loads, and sometimes I write about really niche experiences, but like, and I don't release them. But like now it's kind of like if it feels like a vibe, if it feels like people are going to relate to it, like if it feels like a really important like matter and that I want to speak out about, then definitely I want to put this out to the world. And that's the thing, I've started more so like realizing that I have this like way that like I could actually talk about things that are really important in the world and put them out, and I think that's what artists should be doing. So yeah. And does Stan ever bring anything to you and to work, or you are more collaborative? Yeah, he's really good at bringing guitar lines and stuff, and because he's in another band as well, so like but because we now both have in both bands like distinguished sounds, it's really easy for him to write for both bands, because he's then able to be like, I've got this part for this band, but I've also got this part for you. And I remember when he came up with a guitar line for Dig Me, and I remember him just being like, straight off the bat, this is the idea, and it just flows. So it's more so he comes up with the melody to the guitar line, and then I come up with the theme. I also always run past the theme with the band. I'm always like, because sometimes I'll be like, I think we should write about this, and they're like, you're a nutter, we shouldn't write about that. But most of the time they are like, yeah, that's cool, let's write about that.
And that's interesting what you just said then about how you think it's important for artists to write about not just within their own bubble, to look outwards, but sometimes that can be scary, I think. Because you are giving a position of how you feel about something, and that will always attract positive and negative.
It's like you get terrified of how you're going to be seen, or like, does this look unprofessional if I write about this thing? But I also feel like I'm looking at bands that are inspiring me, and they're doing that, so I think that it's important that and people love it, and I think it's important to talk out about those things. I also think it's good to challenge yourself. I think as songwriters it's really common that we write about personal experiences, but I think it's like, especially now maturing and stuff, I'm like, oh actually I want to write about like, you know, things that are going on in the world, and important matters, and things that I'm seeing on the news, and things that I'm hearing about, and
because that affects you as well.
And if it makes me angry, I think it's cool. I think and I'm writing angsty rock music, I think it fits perfectly.
So this new sound for your EP, and when did the EP come out?
It was on the 5th of Feb that it came out. So still fairly recent actually.
And it's called What's the Problem?
Yes,
which I mean is a brilliant title to start, and we'll play that a little bit later. But this sound that you knew then that you wanted to stick with the kind of much kind of rocky, but I'd say heavy. It's not really heavy.
No.
It's very listenable, but it's got
definitely
an edge to edgy.
Yes,
I think edgy is
edgy, angsty.
So did you then think, right, I need to change up who's playing, or just ask them to play in a different way, or how did it work?
So in 2024, I remember taking. I didn't say yes to many gigs. I had, at this time, I'd actually moved to Norwich at this time. In between 2023 and 2024, I'd actually moved to Norwich, and I was working a bar job. And I remember I knew that I wanted to change my sound, and I knew that I wanted to change up how we were as a band. I knew I wanted a lot to change, but I couldn't financially do it. So I actually spent that year, writing with Stan in our flat because we were lucky enough living together. So we would write demos after demos after demos, and I told him, these are my influences now, these are my new influences, I want to write songs in within this genre. And it was bands like Wolf Alice, Nothing But Thieves, like really just like rockier, like Olivia Rodrigo's like rockier side to her, Avril Lavigne, like those sorts of like punk rock bands. And he knew the task, like straight away. He listens to those sorts of bands. He was like, yeah. Cool, let's do this. So it was me and him for like kind of like a year. We only just like worked together kind of for a year, and then we take songs to Nick and we take songs to Jason, and we would just be like, write your parts to this, and band rehearsals. And that's the thing, like band rehearsals and our flat were the two places we would be, and that was kind of it. And if I wasn't there, I was in a coffee shop in Norwich, this one specific coffee shop that had really good Wi-Fi and really good pastries and coffee, and I would sit there for hours on my days off, because I got 3 days off a week, and I would just sit in those coffee shops on those days off and do artist applications for funding. And I would just sit, and then if I wasn't doing that, I was doing mood boards, because I was like, who am I as an artist? What do I want to look like? What does this rebrand have to look like? And I knew I'd already been given funding previously from companies, so I was like, I knew I had to change and show the plan to be able to get the funding. So yeah,
I mean, that's really clever, I'm gonna say, because as far as I can see, when I speak to other people, they don't really have that. They just sort of happen to evolve, and then I don't think most of them even think about applying for artist funding and looking for what there is and looking at how you can like basically build a business plan for
it was that. I literally had a Google Drive that said 2025 project, and I remember the mood boards went into there. A yearly PowerPointed plan went into there. This is what we're doing in May. This is what we're doing in June, July, and it would be like this and this. And by having that plan by the end of 2024, we had the single record. Well, we had recordings booked in for the whole EP. We had funding confirmed. We had all of our live stuff that we needed to buy confirmed, because somebody was supporting us with that. And we had like and again, 2025 wasn't the year that I was like, I'm gonna do shows necessarily. It's like, I'm gonna now sort the live sound out for this, and I'm gonna record the EP, and I'm gonna do all the promo and the social media side for it. So like, I knew 2025 was the launch year and was gonna be the graft, and this year is like the promotion year of it and the follow-up from that. So it was a long process, and it was a lot to get the band on board, especially people like Jason. Jason's gone from like singing acoustic songs in the pub with me to like me like showing him this rock song and him being like, okay, that's fine, I guess we're doing this sort of thing. But they were all, one thing I will say is that the whole band was supportive. They understood the vision, and I think things like the mood boards and the communication and the drive and the funding and everything, me being like, we're doing this, these are all the things. We bought like, I remember I got some funding and bought like an in-ear rack system, which is like basically...
I was about to ask you about that. Yeah. I remember when you first got it and you were like, oh, this is really stressful. So this is for like, you know, on stage, isn't it? Putting in, and then you can hear
in your ears, and then
you've got your monitoring perfectly.
Yeah. And like, if you've got like electronic sound, you're able to like put it like underneath the sound, so it's coming out of the speakers
as well.
But you're not paying to a backing track.
Yeah.
Technically, in a way, it's kind of like a backing track, but it's very subtle.
Adding the things that you can't do on stage necessarily.
Yeah, and it also just saves money having to pay for like loads of musicians. So it's like it's
win-win.
like it's really cost effective. And I remember I got the funding for that and bought loads of live equipment. And I think for the band to be able to see, hold up, we're getting the support for. We've got our own in-ears and we've got our own packs.
Yeah.
Oh, she really wants to do this properly this time round. And luckily enough, the people around me that were supporting me weren't letting me quit or give up, because it was really hard. It was like, you know, you see all your favourite artists like that are in the local area doing all the festivals and doing all the headline shows and doing all the gigs, and you're sat there like in a recording studio figuring how to turn the click on the SBD.
You're like, stick to the plan. Stick to the plan, because that's what you needed to do though, because if you come out half cocked as it were at that point, then people go, they don't know what they're doing, they've got this, like all this stuff and then that, and
it was so frustrating.
You wouldn't want it.
Just being in a room of technology which you've just been bought it by somebody who believes in what you're doing, and you've gone to a meeting with them and they've gone, I'll buy these things for you. Of course, Gabby, you've got this. What's your goal? And I've gone, I would like management at some point, and I would like to be played on Six Music, and I would like a big festival slot to launch this project. Saying that all to him and him being like, fine, I'll buy it for you, but you've got to make sure you do it.
You're talking about.
And then feeling that pressure, and then going into I remember just like doing the click tracks for the first time in Pirate Studios, and it all just coming. The clicks are like starting at different times. We're trying to stop in the SPD. Everyone's playing like Red in the leads, and you're sat here like, we're rubbish. It was that 2025 was such a pivotal year for us, and genuinely the worst year of my life. Like I say that I had so much happen in a year, and I felt like the most failed musician ever. It was so hard because you're doing all these behind the scenes things, going through personal things, trying to move to London. Like it was so much, but I didn't give up. And now, off the back of that, and loving the live sound, and we've mastered the kind of mastered the live sound now. It's like, it feels worth it.
It feels like putting that in is definitely worth it. I know it feels like a really long time. A year, anything feels like a really long time. But if you hadn't had the mood boards and you hadn't had your like yearly plan, then you would have gone, oh, this isn't working. Like after a few minutes.
And that's the thing. If I didn't have 2024 to sit down in those coffee shops and plan everything, 2025 would have been a lot worse. Yeah. Which is, I remember. Like I had a lot going on personally in 2025, which I really struggled with. Like I had lots of family issues, got into a car accident, like so much happened, and I couldn't write about it because it was a lot to process. So I got writer's block. It was a lot, and I remember having music and having that 2024 plan, because it was so rigid and so to the T. I actually felt like going into band rehearsals and going into like recording and going into shooting music videos and doing promo was so well organised that it felt like I was able to relax during 2020. It was busy.
You don't have to worry about when you're doing, but I knew what I was doing because
I'd planned it. That was.
I mean, that sounds incredible. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that. And so that's amazing. You said you moved to London at that point. And then. So you're living there now.
Yes,
and you're working in music now. And what do you do?
So I teach bands in primary school. So I teach like essentially, I to put it in a short form, I'm Jack Black from School of Rock. But with safeguarding training. That's how I put it.
That's absolutely perfect. And I think that, I mean, what an incredible job for one, and also what's a brilliant inspiration for other young people.
That's why I do it.
We were talking about when you were at school and you didn't have anything like that.
Yeah, and it's a club that I teach at like 10 different schools every single week. Same schools though, every week. And they're all in and around my area, so I don't have to go very far for them. I set up a little band station where you've got the drums, the guitar, the vocals, the keyboard, and then you teach them these pop or rock songs, and then they perform them at the end of the year. And it's like, don't get me wrong, it's very hard to teach a 5-year-old how to play like The Pretender by the Foo Fighters. Really hard.
I'm guessing, so what they expect and what they can play maybe not quite
it's hard,
lined up.
But it's like one of those things where you can go in and be like I remember I asked one of the students the other day like what their dream job is, and he was like, well, I don't know. And I was like, well, you're a really good keyboard player, you know, you could do that as a job when you're older. And their face lit up. They didn't know that. And it's like and I've got some bands that have like just bought out their own merch, and they're like in year 5, and I'm like, that is mental. And the only reason they bought out that merch is because I told them when they were trying to annoy me whilst I was setting up my equipment, I was like, go do a merch design, and they did that, and now they've got their own merch. And I'm like, this is like, and the thing is I'm able within teaching them, in that I only get half an hour to teach them a week, but in that half an hour that I teach them, I tell them about the industry. And don't get me wrong, I've still got loads to learn, but I'm able to tell them things that I've done already, and it definitely inspires them, which is awesome. It's so cool.
So you launched your EP only in February.
Yeah.
And have you got 2026 plan?
Yes. Yeah.
And it feels like there's a lot of things you're already achieving
Yeah.
in this year.
Yeah, we literally said 2026 was just going to be live. We're going to gig in different places. We're going to go to new places. We're going to try and start gigging in Brighton and Bristol and Manchester and do loads of festivals. That was the only priority. And then had some unexpected things that I got asked to do this year, which I didn't anticipate, which was
throw your plan.
Really through the plan. So now I've had to make a new plan, but the new plan is just like 10 times bigger than what it's ever been. So yeah,
That's amazing.
all independently as well.
Yeah, exactly. This is because there's so much push for social media and content. And if you're not in there, your algorithms won't show on anyone's thing. So you've got to include. That's part of the thing.
But
now.
you say that. I moving to London. I've been really trying to go to networking talks to kind of help with my plan and figure out my plan and everything. And I went to a networking talk, and somebody said to me the other day that they think social media is dying.
Good.
And
I mean, no, not good, but making it less important.
But this came from like somebody who's doing really well in the industry, and I remember when they said that, it was actually Kate Nash who said it. She was doing
I've seen
this talk.
her talk about,
and she said she thinks that social media is dying, and she said that she doesn't think that it's going to be a thing in 2 years' time, and she thinks that it will go back to like how Oasis started and like how Arctic Monkeys started, and it's going to go back to these like live things and doing something different, and you know, even bands like Kia have started to do it. Like they're doing that. They didn't blow up on social media, they did it through the live stuff. So and it is genre dependent, but
and I think, I mean, live experience is always going to be the best. So if you can get people, that's the thing, changing people's mentality to get to live gigs and experience new music that they might not know.
So I think yes, there's a lot to do for every artist, but I think things will change, and it will always be constantly changing. You've just got to be ready for it.
Yeah, and music is at the core.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So let's play another one of your tracks now.
Yeah.
This is the title track from your EP.
Yeah.
What's your problem?
Yeah.
What's the problem? Sorry. I always think of it as what's your problem.
Yeah.
But do you want to give a little bit of a intro
a rundown,
to this, and also, you know, why you made it the title track?
So the song is about somebody, again, who I was working with. I started it in a job that I'd like a really different industry I'd never started in before, and it really like threw me off, and I met a lot of people that had very strong opinions, but great, like friends for life, but also like people that I will never speak to ever again. So like it really changed me as a person. I became really angry over that time, and I became really like, I wasn't that countryside girl anymore. I was like more of like I'm a countryside girl in a city format with opinionated people, and it was really overwhelming. And I remember there was this one person that kind of like left me at a time that I needed them the most, just because all they cared about was like sleeping around and getting with girls, and I was so like angry, and just like, you've left a team full of people behind you who care and support about you just because you care about like sleeping around, and it really upset me. But then they would always complain about those people that have always supported them, and I was just like, what's your problem? I don't understand. And then I realized that the rest of the EP was like that. It was like about people that were opinionated but creating problems when they didn't need to, and being ultimately quite selfish. And I've been lucky that I've been brought around people that have forced me not to be selfish. So I really struggled when people were selfish, and I think especially when you become an adult, you start to realize that people are selfish. And it's really hard, especially if you're a really nice person. So
and a people pleaser, because then you're always thinking, oh no, I'll do something for the good of other people, and forgetting that there are these people that
exactly.
It's not worth it.
So the EP being like, oh, what is the problem? Is like, like what is this problem? Because I don't understand, my family don't understand, my partner doesn't understand. So like, why have you got an issue? Why has this person got an issue? And realising that basically all the tracks are about that. But this kind of one brings it all together.
Yeah. Let's hear that now.
Yeah.
Excellent. It is such a good. And the thing with your recent music is that you can really work so well live, and you can just feel in the audience people singing it back and getting really into it. So it's going to be brilliant.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of live stuff coming up now, and you said this year you're going to be your promotion year on live stuff. I've mentioned it right at the top of the show that you're headlining Latitude.
Yes.
So you're playing on the Saturday night.
Yeah. So we got asked by Angel around about a month ago now, from BBC Introduced in Suffolk and Norfolk, to headline the BBC Introducing stage at Latitude on the Saturday night at 9 o'clock. So
that's a brilliant one.
I was in tears.
And I saw a lovely picture of you as probably the 4 or 5 year old. You were talking about going with your parents to at Latitude.
Yeah, it's the festival I grew up going to. I literally couldn't tell you how many times I've been. I think I've been about 9 or 10 times.
Yeah.
It's like we would go every single year with another family. We would go together. It's like my mum and dad's like best friends. Yeah. They would come with us and we would all go together. And I was really good friends with their daughter. So like me and her were friends, and we'd go and we'd get to wander off when we were like 12 and do what we wanted to do, and it was really cool. And yeah, I think when you get to headline a festival like that, and you go, oh, I've always been going to that festival. It's like, no, genuinely, there's
I
actually
have.
like
Yes, yeah.
photo
Having the photos,
evidence.
like, thank you. Yeah, everyone says that.
So, and like me and my brother we used to do this disgusting thing where we used to do a competition of how long we could keep our latitude wristband on for after the festival. So we'd be like, I was like, I think there's a photo of me like 8 years old in France, and him in France like months later, and like we've just got these like mangled like latitude wristbands on, but it shows like it was the festival always had my favourite bands on it, like that me and my family loved growing up. Like I remember we saw Crystal Fighters play there, and it was like really sunny that day, and it felt magical. And there's so many photos of me at that festival. And
it's the beauty again of being in a live thing and being with the people and feeling it and just thinking, I don't need to be anywhere else now. This is just...
and it's like it's the place. Like I've made so many memories at that festival. It was the place that I met my first love at. Like it's the place where I had my first ever kiss. Like it's the place I first got really, really drunk. Like it's the place where like I might have done some illegal
maybe we'll
things. You know, it's like, but you know what I mean. It's like it was my first of like everything. A lot of things, and I remember being very drunk and going up into the woods for the first time, and this was like I want to say around about the age of like 14, 15, and seeing the BBC introducing stage for the first time and seeing the Lavish Lounge and the woods and just being like, it's just so cool. Betty Turner, I think, headlined it one year, and I remember watching her set and being like jealous, like not jealous, but like envious. I was like, I want to do that one day, but I'm young and I don't know how to. And it's like obviously playing that Alcove in 2022 was a dream, and was like one of the best things I've ever done, and it was honestly like a blur. I don't remember much of it because it was just a whirlwind, but that BBC introducing stage has been a goal of mine since I can remember. I've seen like my favourite artists on that stage, so it's pretty cool. Bessie Turner was actually a big inspiration for me when I first started, so to now be asked to do it. I didn't quite believe it when she first started to headline. I'm not gonna lie, I was like, not me, headline, no. Me, headline? No, that's not right. But yeah, now it's still not something.
Your sound works really well at a later time as well.
Yeah, exactly,
thinking back to you when you were younger, the acoustic thing, they're very rarely going to play somebody with an acoustic guitar on their own later on anyway.
And it's going to be fun to be able to celebrate, honestly, this EP, because of how hard it's been a long process since the end of 2023. We've wanted to launch this sound, so 3 years on now, being able to do that in the woods at latitude is kind of mental to even say, but I'm excited.
And so where else do you have for like 2026, 2027?
Yes,
time moves like that,
exactly.
apparently. Have you already got your plan? Have you got places that, or maybe even 2030, say, places that you want to, if you can set places that you'd love to be at, or things that you want to have done or do? I mean, you said about Bristol, Manchester. And
I want to start gigging all over the UK. Like I want to do shows in Bristol and Manchester, Brighton. But we've started doing shows in Brighton, which is really cool. So I really want to kind of like crack like different scenes and just kind of be a part of different scenes.
Which is a thing in itself, and that's hard enough, isn't it?
Exactly. It's so hard, and honestly, if you don't have a booking agent, it feels like impossible sometimes. Just kind of crack that scene and do that, and also genuinely for the first time in ever is keep on going with this sound. I'm so happy with this sound. I'm so happy with who I am as an artist now. I'm happy with the red hair. I'm happy with like the vibe and the style and what I'm wearing on stage and how I look. And God, it feels so good to say, because I didn't think I'd ever say that. I was always constantly wanting to change. New era. And now I'm like, nope, this is who I want to be. I'm writing the most I've ever written. So, and the band is probably the most dedicated they've ever been. So it's like, now we're at a point where it's just like go. The live stuff is like definitely a priority, and luckily enough we're able to fit in recording.
Do you
the
have
new
a
stuff.
favourite part of the process? Like,
That's
is
a
it the
really good
writing?
question.
Or, I mean, you can like them equally, you don't have to have a favourite. Like, is there, do you like them all as you do them, and like doing live
I think it's probably quite cliche of me to say this because we've been talking about it, but festival season is my favourite part of doing it, because you get to reach a brand new audience of people that like haven't heard your stuff before, but also you're guaranteed to have like good sound, good show, like, well, most of the time a good show, and like you're in the sun, and like I love the summer, so like just being able to be outside, and also it forces the band to get into a rehearsal room. I think we all work like 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, so it forces us to be dedicated and get into those rooms. So yeah, it's really, I love festival season, but also off the back of that, I also do really like just sitting in our house, in our little recording studio, and creating demos. I've recently started, I think he'll be okay with me saying this, but I've actually started working with a producer, and he doesn't say that he's a producer, but he is. Sabuku is actually doing a lot of my production work at the moment, and creating this like heavy like rock electronic sound, and I love it. It's like the best stuff I've ever created, and it's forcing me to balance recording.
You've done singles with him before?
Yeah, I did a song with him once where he rapped on it, but he's actually not doing any like vocals or rapping
But
on
he's
any of
just
this.
working,
He's just the guy at the
producing it.
desk
Excellent.
producing it and writing with us.
That's
So
exciting.
yeah, he's doing a lot of writing with us at the moment, and it's great, and everything he's doing, it sounds awesome. So because we're like so locked into festival season and the gigs and the shows and the live stuff, by being able to hang out with him, he's like one of my best mates, so being able to hang out with him in the studio feels like free time. It feels like we're just having downtime and recording. And then now we're so in love with what we're making with him that we are forcing ourselves to also book studio time, which is a really good balance actually. So,
and what about like this time next year? Is there any festivals that you'd love to? I mean, or if, in 5 years' time.
I think everybody says it, but Glastonbury is like a dream. I work at Glastonbury every year with all my friends, and we have the best time, and I always go and see artists that are up and coming. Saw Native James play there last year, and he was incredible, and it made me think like I'd love to do that one day. I'd love to be, I work at behind the scenes and I get to see the work behind the scenes, but I'd love to be the artist. I'd love to be able to do that side of it and be a part of it. And Latitude is obviously my favourite from a family growing up perspective, but Glastonbury is like also another favourite which I adore. So Glastonbury is always is a dream. Or even just like maybe like emerging talent competition. I've always tried to manifest something like that.
And the Road Festival would be good.
And Bearded Theory as well. Dot to Dot, Great Escape.
There's so many great ones, isn't there?
Those ones like in particular, especially
you played
Alternative Escape,
So that's you're nearly there on that one.
Exactly. So like those are all the goals over the next like 5 years, I'd say. Also, like it sounds so boring to me to say this, especially, but like being independent, like I'd love to be able to get a booking agent, because working Monday to Friday 9 to 5 and then doing a lot of it on my own and organising the band, just being able to have somebody help me with the live stuff would be so blissful. But we'll get there, and I'm manifesting that. So I manifested a BBC Six music play, and I got that. So
see, exactly. If you manifest it, it will come.
Yeah, hopefully.
Now, is there any advice, as we're coming to the end of this, is there any advice you would give to your younger self now? And you know, you've come through so much in a quite short space of time.
Yeah.
So maybe.
Definitely.
What would you, when looking back?
I would say be ready for anything and don't give up because of that. Because I think sometimes it can get really overwhelming when you do get big opportunities, but be ready for it, and be ready for it after, post it as well, like post gig or post opportunity, because like, and I would love to share this story very quickly about when I played Latitude Alcove Stage in 2021. I was 17 at the time, and I played it, and I loved every single second of it, and I gave it my all, and I was prepared for the day, prepared for the show. But I remember afterwards post Latitude show and everything, I didn't have any music, I didn't have any new music, I didn't have anything recorded, I didn't have anything to post on social media, I didn't have any other shows to follow up for it, and I got my streams after Latitude went like that for about 2 months and then back down again, same as followers, everything. And I remember that high that you get after you get an opportunity like that is insane. And I always say, BBC introducing and these platforms are great and they're incredible and they're a luxury, but don't rely on them, because if you rely on them, you're not going to get very far. And it took me about a good year to kind of recognise, okay, I need to stop relying on other things. I need to do it all myself and never expect anything off of anybody and all that sort of stuff. So I remember after that happening, not being prepared was really embarrassing for the aftermath. I remember, and people always say this to me, I'm really hard on myself. I was 17, I was a child. But if I didn't experience not being prepared, I wouldn't be where I am today, because I remember being embarrassed. And I remember actually when Passion Parade got it the year after, I told them my mistakes. And I remember when Chess got it, I said, make sure you've got posters and flyers to hand out before the set. Make sure you've got a single ready to release, a show afterwards, because I didn't have those things. And I genuinely believe it's why I didn't progress as much as I could have. So yeah, it was one of my biggest regrets in my career. But again, I was a child. Yes. So,
but like you said, that was a learning process. Yeah. And you found that out very early. Yeah. You could have found that out in 10 years' time.
Exactly. And I'm really grateful that I did get the opportunity early on. So I've now learned so much from it. And it wasn't just necessarily Latitude, it was other things that I've done within that year. I'd released the project, I'd released the EP, my first ever EP, and I had no clue what I was doing. And I remember just being like, I need to be more well prepared, and I'm really glad that I did. And just now being able to, I actually said this to the band, you don't ever get to do it twice with BBC Introducing, and I am flabbergasted. I'm so blown away that I've been asked to do it again, and I'm not taking it for granted this time. So
very well deserved. So
Thank
you've
you.
got to say that as well. And just the last question then: are there any artists around at the moment that you really admire, or ones that you'd like to let everyone know about, local or slightly bigger?
Oh, that's a really good question.
You know, ones to check out.
Yeah.
Be good for us to.
Everybody, can I say? Yeah, everyone's smashing it. There are lots of amazing artists. I'm a big advocate for like what the Norwich scene that I was lucky enough to be a part of for a couple of years. So Pleasure Inc., who are on the Norwich scene, are doing exceptionally well, and every song that they're releasing is just like next level. Elfay from Norwich, she's doing amazing. She's just been out to Boomtown and Latitude, which is just amazing, and I love everything that she does. And then even like Suffolk artists like Nina Aria, she's incredible. You've got Evie Frierson from Essex, who's amazing, and it's the girls are coming through and they're doing great. But and it's really exciting to see where they're all going to end up. Juliet from Norwich, like she's smashing it. I'm a big fan that all the girls on the scene right now are doing something cool, but are all doing something different. Yeah, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you ever so much for this, Gabby. It's been enlightening and exciting and really interesting. I've absolutely loved it. And we're going to finish with your another one of the singles. Yes, Always Messing With My Mind. Do you want to just give us a bit of an intro into that?
This is probably Medicine, and this one is my favourite off of the EP. I love this song. It's the only slow song on the EP, and I wanted it because I wanted to show off like my writing and my vocals. And I remember Jason wrote the guitar part for the song, and then a couple of weeks later we were in band rehearsal and Stan started playing the guitar part, and Jason goes, "That guitar part's really good. Who wrote that?" And we're like, "You wrote that? Like, what do you mean?" And yeah, I wrote it about a time where, again, somebody had really badly mistreated me, and Stan was actually with me the day that it happened. This person basically like had a huge go at me outside in a public space, and like they were just screaming and hollering at me. And I remember just being like, so taken back by it, and Stan was with me, and then we actually ended up writing about it together, and it was one of those things of being like, and this person was like a really like gorgeous person, like they could be a model. So I remember just being like, so I couldn't stop thinking about them, and it really annoyed me because I was like, I don't want to think about you, because it was almost like this pretty privilege, I call it, like where they got away with doing a lot of bad things because of how stunningly gorgeous they were, and people felt really sorry for them, but actually they were mistreating people at the time, and it really messed me up, and I was like, I don't want to think about this person because they're technically not a good person, but they're really pretty. And it was really confusing, and I remember being on holiday in Bournemouth at the time, and I was sat on the beach thinking about them whilst my whole family were throwing stones, and I was so angry. I was just like, I don't want to think about this person. And so I started writing on my phone the lyrics, and that's how the song started. And then came home, Jason wrote this guitar line, and then I said, Stan, we should put these lyrics that I've written whilst I was on holiday to this song. And my partner he loves like rock and lots of heavy metal, and I remember when we showed him it, he hated it. He was like,
it's too slow.
It's slow, don't like it, and he didn't want to play the drums to it, and he threw a strop, and then he still doesn't like it to this day, which is so funny. And then it got played on Six Music 3 weeks ago, so
now who's in the wrong?
I was in bed and I went, this is so funny, you're never going to guess what. And he went, what? And I went, you know the song that you hate the most out of the EP? It's actually just been played on national radio.
What do you know?
So now, and now that it's getting the recognition that I think that it deserves. I mean, I think it's the most like played song out of all of my songs that's been played on the radio. I'm buzzing because of that, because I love it so much. It's a thing that the band loves so much, apart from Nick, and now nationally people appreciate it as well.
Yeah, well, that's fantastic. We're going to play that out. So thank you very much again, Gabby. It's been
you.
absolutely wonderful.
Yes, it's been amazing.